Okay. Alrighty. Just checking all my settings here. Okay, I guess I'm on. Anybody here yet? Hi, Mary. Hi, Diane. Can you guys hear me okay? A thumbs up or anything is good? Hi, Pam. Okay. Test things out here. Okay. Good. Okay, thanks, Diane. Hey, Carol. Ah. People are starting to trickle in. I don't know how many saw the message. Obviously, you guys did. But it's always available for replay anyway. So I just like it when all you guys are on here so we can converse, sorta, kinda. So, all right. Okie dokie. All right, well, I guess I am gonna get started. What a day it's been. It's been a very trying day. So, hey, Jennifer. Hey, Judy. Yeah, it's been a day. If you read my post, which I'm sure you did because you're here, it was very, very frustrating, and I'm here. You know, I kind of thought at first maybe I shouldn't do this, but I think probably tonight is better than any time tomorrow because I have no idea what's going on with my dad tomorrow. So if he gets his results from his COVID test and they're okay, then I will probably be at the hospital until we know what's going on. So thanks for bearing with me. I was almost ready to do the demo this afternoon when I got a call from my dad's neighbor, and that kind of like, well, I guess I'm not doing that today. But anyway, I thought it would be good for me to just go ahead and do this tonight, and we'll see what happens if I don't get too flustered. But I don't really need an excuse for that. That just kind of happens. So yeah, hi Dawn. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it's stressful. You know, when they get to be 95 and even before, they're in a more fragile state. They get scared easy, and you know, they know that their time on Earth is not going to be that much longer. So it's a scary time for them, and it's a scary time for me too, because you know, as long as I've been able to have him in my life, I can't imagine what life will be afterwards. But anyway, you know, you can't ask that much. I mean, when you've lived to 95, you're pretty fortunate. A lot of people never got to even come close to that. So, okay. So, yeah, I'm glad you got the message, Diane. It, you know, people are on Facebook off and on during the day. I know I am. So I miss a lot of things, but I am still able to catch some stuff. So anyway, we're going to work on some tack pins or lapel pins, if you want to call them that. I have, I'm going to move the camera down and you can see a little assortment of what I've been working on in the last couple of weeks. I actually made a couple of them today, earlier before this all happened. So I got a chance to get a couple of them finished, and I will turn the camera down and you can see. And as usual, if the camera's not in the right place or whatever, you know, just let me know and I'll try to move it so you can see things a little bit better. But these pins I made all with Potter USA pancake dies, and I will explain what those are. I know that there are some people out here watching that aren't familiar with this technique, so I want to explain a little bit of that for their benefit. So those of you guys that already know about this stuff, just bear with me. I'll make it brief, but I think in fairness, for those who don't know what this stuff is, it's kind of neat to, it's important to share that information. So yeah, the cactus and the butterfly I did today. These are so simple to do. There's not a lot involved at all, but they sure are cute. And you certainly don't have to wear them as pins. You can not put the tack pin on the back and put a loop on it and hang it if you want to do it that way. This is the one I'm going to make tonight. But if you want, I can show you how I did the little plague doctor with the stamping. I'm not the world's best stamper, but this one I just got lucky with. So I may trade this one up for you guys that's not stamped. But anyway, Potter has lots of different shapes. This is a coin. This is a farthing, an English farthing. And it's got a little bird on it, which I think is a farthing bird. I'm not really sure. Farthing, not farting. Okay, just want to make that clear. And I domed it a little bit, and then I put a little tack pin on there too. So there's lots of possibilities. This one is kind of an oddball shape that was in one of the monthly Potter boxes, and I don't know, I just thought maybe as a pin it would be cute. So and then this little pumpkin, he's really cute too. So it's just a lot of fun things. You don't have to put stones on them if you don't want to, but I think they snazz it up just a bit. And this is how they look before. Well, let's take it from, I don't know, from here. This is how this starts out. Well, actually, this is how this starts out. Just a sheet of copper right here. And then I used a pancake die, which I don't have that one in front of me, but I have the pumpkin guy, or the pumpkin in front of me. If you can see that, it's a piece of steel, and you slide this piece of copper. I mean, there's lots of variables and things to know about it, but this is kind of in a nutshell what this is. I probably should have picked a bigger piece. Oh, here, this is the one I had set aside for here. You take a piece of copper and slide them in there, and you would want to line them up so that you make the best use of your metal. You know, I just kind of stuck them here so that you can get the idea. Well, actually, I guess what I'll do, but to get these shapes, you have to have these dies. They're called pancake dies. Pancake like the ones you eat for breakfast. This one's a little bit stiff. Okay, so I'm going to stick this guy in the die, and hang on just a second. I'm going to, right off the bat, oh, come on. I'm going to unhook this and take you over to the press, because that way you can see what a press is. I do not have a fancy schmancy one. This is a homemade job that I was very fortunate to have a friend make for me. So it's got plates on here. This is like a bottle jack. I don't know if I'm doing this right. Yeah, that's the bottle jack right here. And then you pump this thing, and then these jaws close. It squeezes the pancake die, and the shape pops out. So let's see. I'm going to position this. I got the metal in here, and I'm going to position that in there, and then pump this up, make sure that works, and fire in the hole. Oh, that one didn't make a lot of pop. Okay, that's okay. Then I release the pressure on there, and the little pumpkin comes out. And then I have the rest of the copper that I can cut this off, and I can make some more pieces. But this is the hydraulic press, this is the pancake die, and this is what you get out of there. Okay, so now you know. The other thing, as long as I'm up, the other thing is the rolling mill. Now the rolling mill is what puts the pattern on the metal. And of course, let me see here. All of these pieces have a texture on them, and that texture came from either an impression plate, which is this. There's lots of different designs. This is also steel. And there are paper patterns, okay, which they both work equally well. They have lots of different patterns to choose from, and I'll tell you where I got them too. But anyway, you take your metal and you take your pattern and essentially put that through the rollers of this mill and kind of crank it. It's kind of like a giant pasta machine, and the pattern metal comes out on the other side, and then you have your pattern. I know that that's probably not a great description, but it's, I think, enough to just kind of understand what I'm talking about. For those who for those of you who don't know, so you'll be in the know. Okay, so on my instructions that I will post after this video's over, I will have the resources where you can get these things from. And they're very nice and handy to make all kinds of fun stuff, to make all the things. So that's if you want to get texture, like pattern texture like this on your metal. Or you can do texture hammers, which I could not for the life of me remember what to call this thing last week, but it's an embossing hammer. And I kept thinking ball peen hammer, but it's an embossing hammer. So you can use that, and it makes little dimples in the metal, which are really cute when the light kind of reflects off of all those little dents that you put in there. Or you could use, this is another texture hammer, but it's got, excuse me, it's got a real fine line on one end and just slightly thicker on the other end, and it makes little lines in the metal. So there's that. There's others too. There's other hammers that have actual designs on the ends, and you can just hit your metal and the metal the design transfers on the metal. Or you could use metal stamps. You know, there's a variety of different stamps that have designs on the ends of them. So you can, like say, the little pumpkin guy, you know, I use this stamp here, this little triangle. And I had gotten this from Indian Jeweler Supply before they went out of business, but this is a Native American Indian made stamp. There's tons and tons of these online that you can find. If you're interested in these things and you're not a member of some of these metalsmithing groups, there are stamping groups. There are groups for all phases of or techniques of jewelry making. So if some of this stuff interests you, you can type in the search bar to see if there's like stamping groups and different things like that. There's a ton of different things. So that's just a tiny little bit of information on that stuff. So, okay, let me see if you have any questions at this point. Hi, Mary Lou. Your package is going out tomorrow. Okay. Jennifer, what are you jealous of? I'm sure you have tons of tools yourself. Come on. Okay. All right. So those were the pins that I've made so far. I really like this bird. I just think it's really cute. I took my pins off here. I just left my little Halloween cat up here, which I'll talk about before we end today. And I shamelessly wore the class project that I'm going to be doing a class next month, at the end of next month. And this is one version of how it can be. It can be many different ways. There's a ton of different things in the kit that you can kind of do your own thing with my guidance. And that's going to be a lot of fun. Anyway, so those are the pins that I've already made. And I wanted to talk about, well, I'm not going to talk much about it, but on the flower that I'm making, I have kind of formed, dapped little areas of the petal just to give it a little bit of dimension. I don't know how well you can see that, but hopefully you can. And typically, people use what they call stakes for hammering stakes for helping to form the metal. Stakes and hammers, not the steak you eat. And let's see here if I can. I'm not, I say this every time, I'm not set up exactly the best way to show all this stuff. But this is one form of a stake, and it goes into this little holder that's on my table. And you would put the metal on the edge. Well, let me see here. I did a makeshift one with a dapping punch because not everybody can have all the things, and there's other things that you can use. You don't necessarily have to have them unless you're doing real specific projects that would require them. But basically, this would be in its own little holder, and then you place your metal on here, and then you hammer, which I'm going to do with this punch. Let me see if I can move the camera over. Yeah, I just put a dapping punch, a steel dapping punch in the vise in here, just to show you that you can, this is a nylon hammer, you can make that metal move a little bit simply by just hitting it along the ball of that forming or the punch. And now, so I'm bringing those leaves in a little bit, and this one I want to turn out, so I'm turning it upside down a little bit and give that leaf just a little bit of, it's not the best, but it works. So I guess it just depends on how involved you want to get. But I like flower petals and stuff to have dimension, and I just think it makes it look so much more interesting than just flat. So that's basically, I mean, everything I'm doing here is just like a super abbreviated form of doing it, but it just is enough to give it a little bit of interest. Hi, Deb. Yeah, I'm going to check on my dad as soon as we're done with this demo tonight and see how he's doing. All right, I really like that. I mean, it's simple. Now, this one wasn't textured, but I just pulled this out just to show you how to do that. So I had already done that, or no, I didn't. I have not done that. This is the one that we're going to work on. This one is with one of Gwen's patterns from Rolling Mill Resources, which I really like. And I'm going to just texture these leaves a little, or the petals just a little bit, and then I will solder on the bezel cup. So that, well, I guess I should show you that too, for those who don't know. All right. These are little copper bezel cups. Can you see that okay? I think so. I think you can. This is an 8mm, this is a 6, and this is a 4mm, and these have little serrated edges. I really like the serrated edges, but you can get them plain also. And I got these from Rio Grande, and they have the silver ones as well. I work mostly with copper because it's cheap, and I like it. And it's a wonderful thing to practice with before you start working with silver. And then these are some little cabochons that I also got from Rio Grande, and the corresponding 8, 6, and 4. The 4 is what I used in the Plague Doctor's eyeball, which I thought was absolutely the right size, perfect size for him. And these are 6mm that I have on the butterfly and the saguaro, I'm not sure, but something like that, the cactus. And then this one is a 8mm cabochon, little lampwork cabochon that I made a while back. These are very tricky to make small like this because they don't always turn out the size that's going to fit exactly in the cup. So it's pretty hit or miss with that. But anyway, that is something about the sizes, bezel cups and cabochons. Okay. All right. So I am going to, let's see, put that there for a second. I'm going to grab my nylon hammer and my flour and just they don't all have to be turned, but you know, well, that's too far. You just play around with it a little bit until you get all the shapes like how you like them. With the stakes, those metal stakes that I showed you, they have like all different. Well, they come in different sizes, but they come in different shapes as well because you can do lots of different things. You know, like if you are trying to get inside like a bowl or something that's got a rounded edge in there, there's specific stakes for specific jobs. So I don't know a whole lot about them, just a little bit. But I was able to get one of these stake sets from Eurotool, and it's a lot cheaper than the other. I think they are, what are they? I believe they're Frets brand, and they're substantially higher. and I think as far as quality goes, I mean, I don't have the frets, but these seem to work pretty well, at least for the things that I do. Someone who does a lot of forming might differ or disagree with me, but you know, for what I do, these are fine. All right, so I've got just a little bit of texture on the petals, or dimension, I should say, on the petals, along with the texture. And I am going to solder an 8mm bezel cup on that. And then I will solder on the tack pin. The tack pins I also got from Rio. And like I said before, all the resources will be on the handout. They just look like little tacks. Here they are over here. And I'm going to grab one. And they're really sharp, so be careful. You can stab yourself with them. All right, so let me get my soldering stuff set up. It's all here, it just has to be in the right position. Diane asks, if you texture first, will the texture remain after stamping, after hammering? Yeah, I mean, unless you're really wailing on it, it's not bad. Not bad at all. I know with these cameras you can't really see up close very well, but yeah, this texture looks just fine. But I barely hit it too, so, but I mean, if you really had a heavy hand, you probably could mess up the design, so for lack of a better word. Okay. Can you cheat and epoxy the tack pen? I suppose you could. I've not tried that, but I don't see why it wouldn't work. I know they've got a lot of improved materials out there as far as epoxies and things. So yeah, I mean, you don't really have a lot to lose. I mean, investment wise, if it doesn't work. Oh, and you know what else? I forgot. I have to back up because I always do this. I always get ahead of myself. I was telling you guys about the pancake dies and impression dies and all that stuff. And if you don't have pancake dies and a press, you can still cut metal out with templates. You can, they come in a variety of shapes and sizes. All you have to do is get yourself a larger copper sheet, which normally does come in like 6 inches, 6-inch squares, and larger. Rio Grande has that as well. They sell it 6x18, 6x36, and they have different thicknesses as well. So what I'm using on these tack pins is 22 gauge. For a tack pin, I think it's just fine. It doesn't have to be super heavy, but you know, if you have something heavier, that should be just fine. And thinner, you might get away with thinner, but really in a pancake die, you really shouldn't cut 24 gauge in there because it can get stuck. So 22 gauge, 20 and 22 gauge are probably the safest bet for that. But if you're gonna cut, you need some shears that cut metal. These are metal shears. And you also probably wouldn't want to cut 20 gauge with your shears, although it can. It's hard on your hand to cut through that thick of metal. So 22 is probably just fine. But there's a variety of shapes of templates. So you can definitely do this without having all the big expensive equipment. You can use a couple of texture stamps. Or you could use metal design stamps, or you could use some texture hammers and get some really nice results with that too. So I wouldn't say that this technique is not for everyone, because you can improvise on a lot of stuff. Certain things you need, you know, to buy, but a lot of stuff is just convenience, and you can get, just for example, you can get a really nice effect. I'm going to make some noise. I've got a chasing hammer, and I'm going to just take that little scrap piece of metal and just kind of give it a little bit. You can give it a really nice, there's probably glare on here, a nice texture like that with the back of a chasing hammer. Or you could buy some embossing hammers. They're not too terribly expensive. Wubbers has a line of little texture hammers. This is also pretty much the same thing this just did, but it gives you maybe just smaller. Well, they are definitely smaller, but not by a lot. One end is a little bit wider than the other end, so you can get a little bit smaller texture marks. I hope you can see it. Okay, so you can do that, or this other texture hammer I have has lines, and you can lay down this texture fairly quickly. Just watch that you don't texture your fingers. And this is really a neat look too once you patina this, because all that dark goes down into the recesses of all these lines. It's a very cool look. So that's another option. My husband said I should write all this stuff down in order that I want to present it, but you know, I tried that the first time. I did a demo and I never looked at the sheet. It's like I just kind of, I don't know, I'm too weird for that. Okay, too ADD for that. Can't handle the structure, I guess. Okay, so I formed these little petals the way I want them, and I'm going to put this on my solder block and get my cup. Where'd my cup go? You know, I had everything. Oh, I left it on here. That's why. Duh. Okay. All right. So I'm going to use last week, I think it was last week. Yeah, I mentioned about these little hummingbird holders for holding down your work when you're soldering. There again, the resources on the handout. These are very handy for this little application. Anyway, I've turned over, bring them up on camera. Bring them up, what, the bezel cups? Or the hummingbird? The hummingbird is just a little steel block with an arm extending. They come in several different styles, and they're on the resource page. And can you see, Melissa? Maybe against my skin. Yeah, the hummingbird, that's a pretty neat little thing. And then the bezel cups are very small. I know if I get too close to the camera, then it kind of is just blurry. So anyway, what I'm going to do is turn this bezel cup upside down, and I'm going to put a little bit of solder on here. And then I will put it on my flower. I don't know. I hope you guys can see. Maybe this. Is that better? The Wubbers is a cleaner look. Yeah, I think it is. I think it is. But you know, if you don't have that and you've got the chasing hammer, that'll work too. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of medium paste solder on the back of my cup, and I don't want to put too much because it spreads out, and then that solder gets, it's silver solder, it's not copper solder, so when it flows it goes into the little recessed areas of it goes in the recessed areas of the design, and they're kind of hard to get out. But you can, if you futz around with it, you can do a pretty fair job with it. Okay, so now I'm going to, where are my tweezers? Okay, now I'm going to put this in the center of my flower. I have hair all over me. You'd think I was a cat. Okay, and now I'm going to take the hummingbird and I'm going to place that in the bezel cup to keep it stationary. Just so, because sometimes these things, as soon as you put the heat on them, they kind of want to skitter away. So we don't want that. And let's see here. Last week, I was using the big torch with the canned butane, and it's a more powerful torch than I normally use, and that's why I fried that silver that I was working on, because I should have tested it out. I mean, I have used it before, but not for silver, and I just really annihilated that stuff. So I learned my lesson with that. I use this torch for a lot of medium sized jobs. And this is, in case you want to know, this is made by Wall, like the wall of your house. Lenk, Lenk. I got it from Amazon, gosh, a bunch of years ago. I think they still make them. You know, a lot of times some of the stuff that I put on my resource pages, I go and I look it up to see if I can still find it. And a lot of stuff isn't there anymore, and I don't know why. You know, I mean, I could imagine if it wasn't very good, but you know, some of these things are pretty good, but they're either always changing styles or, you know, trying to upgrade, and sometimes I think well enough should be left alone. But anyway, that's my opinion. So Fran, you do not need flux with solder paste. Okay, a lot of people don't care for solder paste. Everybody has their own preferences. I like it for jobs that I feel like you need kind of like a glue to hold things together. But normally I would use sheet or wire solder for a lot of things. I could have put I could have sweat soldered a little piece of sheet solder on the back of that, but I'm just being lazy. So I put that on there like that. Anyway, I've got my quench water here, but yeah, you don't really need to. And sometimes I go ahead and I give it a blast of flux. I think I will anyway, just to kind of protect the other areas of the metal. Okay, put some on there. And let's see. Okay, so I'm going to solder this on here. Yeah, the paste has flux already in it. So thank you, Jennifer. I didn't say that, but that's exactly right. So, okay, so I'm going to turn on my, a lot of the reason people don't like the paste solder is because it has harmful chemicals in it. and it's stuff that you really don't want to be breathing. I have a little fume trap that I'm going to be using with this, but I also have 2 fans going in here. So, you know, it smokes. When you heat it up, it smokes, and it is not good to be breathing that stuff. It truly isn't. So, you need to take care of yourself and make provisions for that kind of stuff. So, okay, so I'm going to turn on my fume trap here. How well that thing works, I really don't know, but I'm going to believe that it works fine, that it helps. All right, so I'm going to keep my heat, circulate my heat all around. My flux is bubbling up. My hummingbird is keeping my bezel cap down, or cup down. Metal's getting pretty hot, so I want to be careful at this point. But the hummingbird also acts as a heat sink. It takes up some of that heat. So it takes a little bit longer for the solder to flow. I'm going to say that that worked. Now the hummingbird is screaming hot. So I'm going, oh man, that is crusty, but okay. All right, so I've got that in there. I'm just gonna cool it a second and into the quench water. All right. And it's on. It's on. So now I'm gonna put this in the pickle. And it's going to need to be in there for a little while, but that's okay, because I have one. Oh no, I am not going to put this in the pickle yet. I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to teach you bad habits. I'm sorry. Maybe they're not really bad habits, but they're shortcuts. I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to go with shortcuts. I am going to clean off. I'm going to clean off a little bit of that area. I'll put my mask on here. I got to decide where I want to put that tack pin. Okay, so I think I'm going to go with here at the top. So I'm just going to take a coarse wheel and clean off a little spot right there. Technically, it should go in the pickle and get cleaned nice and well, but this little spot here will solder just fine. Okay, so then the next thing I'm going to do is get my tack pin, wherever I put it. God only knows where it went. Oh, here it is. Oh, I put it in the dish. Oh, I can take this off now. Okay. All right. I'm going to use a third hand with a cross-lock tweezer that has a little groove at the end of it that I'm going to stick my pin in. To hold it. Now the next thing is I have to get my third hand propped up high enough. Oh, now see, I chose a pedal that is curved. Woo! It's hot, hot, hot. The block is still hot, so I put that on there. So let me rethink this. Well, I guess this side will be okay. Although that's got just a slight curve in it. But that's going to be a problem. I am going to get myself some shims. Just a sec. Okay. I've got some titanium strips that I use as shims to prop things up. And you use as many as it takes to get the right height. Let's see if that'll do it. Okay. This block is not going to work. I guess I'm just up too high. Maybe I should just lower this thing, but then you're not going to see as well. All right, let me work this out here. All right, what can I use to prop this up? Let's try this. Because I want this third hand to rest on here. That's kind of dicey. Get back here. Oh, sorry guys, I can turn this off for a second. Oh, that sounds so much better. Oh, I'm still trying to put it in the wrong orientation, on the wrong pedal. I'm going by the clean spot. All right, I need to. Sorry, technical difficulties. There we go. This back on a sec. All right. Okay, sorry. Clean that off. All right, now we'll try this again. All right, that's better. You know, if you don't have this all just right, it's gonna fail. So right now it's not looking too good. All right, I think maybe that might help, or not. Yeah, stick your finger in the pin, Sue. Okay. but I don't have the flux on there yet. So, and I dropped the pin. It's not a demo unless half the stuff is on the floor. Thankfully, these come 50 in a bag, so. All right, now I'm gonna put easy solder on the back since I used medium solder on the bezel cup. And we don't want the same strength, for lack of a better word. The same melting temperature. There we go. Otherwise the bezel cup will fall off. So it's probably way too much, but oh yeah. All right, so I'm going to put those in. That's upside down. It's like watching a bad comedy. Comedy of errors. I should have checked this out earlier as far as the height so that you guys could see. Okay, so I've got that on here. If I skip the third hand, that that little tack is going to probably go away, move around, jump around, I should say. Let me flux this too. I could try it, I suppose, but there's not that much stuff to grab, metal to grab on the back of that tack. So, I don't know. I'm going to live dangerously or just be stupid. I don't know. So I'm going to put this on here. Please work, please work, please work. I pray to the solder gods. Okay. All right. Let's see if it worked. Take that off. We have a tack pin. It's on there. I got a lot of solder on there too, but I don't care because I'll clean that up as best I can. Okay. Quench. And it's on well. Okay, so now this is going to go in the pickle. All this stuff is hot. Hot, hot, hot. Quench my third hand. Get this out of my way here. Pop this in the pickle. Okay, that's in. All right. So I have too many things here. Out of my way so I don't burn myself. And this one I cleaned up. I had done this earlier, same thing. So the tack pin is on. Boy, that glare is something. I found an interesting thing when I was going to set this pin, or this cabochon. I have this rubber block that I use a lot for different things, and I use it in the to prop things up a lot of times when I'm using the drill press, and I've drilled through it a couple of times on accident. But I found out that it's kind of handy when you have a pin, because you can just stick that right in the hole and the shape just stays there. So kind of cool. All right, so now where is my stone? Well, I'm going to put a blue one in here, turquoise. Excuse me. And sometimes when you're soldering and picking stuff up, you kind of knock the excuse me, the bezel out of alignment. And what I do for that, and so then that way your stone doesn't want to seat very, very well. So so I'll take a round stamping tool, small, and kind of go inside the bezel cup and push the little serrations just out of the way just a little bit, not too much. You don't want to distort it, but I want that cabochon to fit in there. So you can kind of see where the cup has distorted a little bit. So I'm pushing that in there. Almost good. Let's see if I can. Almost. Close, but no cigar. Oh, that shows my age, doesn't it? You guys know I'm no spring chicken. All right, so I should have a piece of floss under here. I don't. These are all things that you should remember not to do. Okay, it's in. I just pushed it in, pushed it down a little bit. You can see. Okay, so, oh, didn't fall because it's in the hole. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna set this cab and get my tools for that. I have a bezel pusher and a burnisher, bezel burnisher. I also have this nifty little thing from, this is a little acrylic burnisher from, let me think, Flow Metal Studio. Oh, it says that right on here, Flow MKE on Etsy. But that's also in my handout. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm going to take my bezel pusher, and you push in the bezel cup. You kind of look at that bezel like it's a clock, and you're going to push in at 12 o'clock, and then turn it and push at 6 o'clock. I'm just pushing it in, and turn it and 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. So you've got those 4 areas pushed in, and now you're going to work on the other areas, always opposite each other. And fold those in. This is actually very quick. I mean, I'm taking longer because I'm explaining it. But once you set these, I mean, these are a snap. Using the bezel cups instead of making your own, they're just too stinking small, in my opinion, to make your own bezels for them, but you certainly could do that if you like a challenge and like to work with small little things. I like the bezel cups, the pre-made ones. I think that's the way to go. So, you know, I had already cleaned this piece and I didn't go over that with you, but when I took it out of the pickle, I have a brass brush that, you know, I just brush it up real good. It gets all the pickle juice off of the piece. And then I will take it over to my flex shaft and polish it up with that. Sometimes there's well, almost always on copper, there'll be a solder line. And I try to grind a little bit of that off kind of gently. But there are a few tools that are kind of neat on the flex shaft that you can get in close to the edge of the bezel cup and try to get that solder seam off. These little points are nice. They are the coarse grit, and they're like a rubber, or I don't think they're silicone. They could be, but something like that, rubber or silicone with a grit kind of impregnated in there, and that kind of helps get those seams out a little bit. I never can completely get it out, so I will show you how I handle that. I have to plate it to get the solder line kind of covered and bring in those copper molecules, and it covers it up pretty well. And then I patina it afterwards, so it's really hard to tell. I mean, you can tell if you really get in there and inspect it, you can tell, but it's very passable and doable in my opinion. So anyway, that's how I would clean those up. And I already did that with this, so I can't show you. Well, I'll show you on the one that I just soldered, just so you know. Okay, so now get that back in there and take my burnisher and go all the way around that bezel. And the nylon or the plastic one works the same way. It's really kind of neat. They come in a set of two, but one's larger than the other. So I don't tend to use the large one very much, but I do use this small one quite a bit. And I'm just kind of making sure that that serration kind of is going up and hugging that stone, which it is. And you can patina this before or after. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to hurt your stone at all. And that's in there to stay. Watch it fall out. No, it's fine. It's in there. Okay, so let me show you the plating so you know what the heck I'm talking about. Although I think I did that. Well, I know I've shown it before, but if you haven't seen all the demos, then you may have missed that. It's not a big deal, but it is, I think, a necessary step. Oh, I don't know if I can bring that over here. Let me see here. That's a hot little cup of pickle. Yeah. All right, what I'm going to do is, this is old pickle. And that is great for plating because it has a lot of those little copper particles or molecules or whatever. So I'm going to take this out of here for right now, because this makes this pickle unusable afterwards, in my opinion. I have heard that it's still good afterwards, but I don't believe it because all the color is gone after you've done this. So I'm taking a piece of steel wool and I'm going to put that in the cup. I had this on a cup warmer in here. My pickle pot's in another room. I don't like to keep it in the same area. This one I did not clean up, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's going to take one for the team, just to show you. So I'm going to put that in there, and then I'm going to put another piece of steel wool on top, and I'm going to let that sit for a few minutes while we're doing other things. And I'm going to cover that up, because I've always been under the impression that your things can get rusty when you have pickle close by, your tools and things. I could be wrong, but I have heard that. This keeps turning around. It's making a bad example of me. There we go. Okay, so that's in there. And what I'll do now is do the liver of sulfur on this one. With another hot bowl. And I have the liquid gel, or it's a gel, liver of sulfur. Sorry you guys can't smell this. It's such a wonderful aroma. And I stick a little craft stick in there and just get a little bit in there. That's all you need. A small amount. And mix it up. Stick in my piece. All right. Any questions at this point? See how dark it gets? But I want to get it pretty dark. And if you kind of agitate it a little bit, like I am doing, moving this around, it gets darker faster, in my opinion. Okay, that's good. Get that out of the way. Rinse it off. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to stick this guy back up here. And I'm going to poke my paper towel, stick the pin through there, and then the pin back in the hole in my rubber block. And then I'm going to take 4/0 steel wool. No, the color does not affect the stone, at least not on the stuff I've been using. There probably are stones that would be affected, but the turquoise and crystals and things like that, I've never had a problem with it. But you don't have to do it this way. You could patina it before you set the stone. That probably is the smarter thing to do, but I'm not always about smart. And then just clean that all up. Now I would tumble this as well after I've got it patinaed. Just for a little while, maybe 10 minutes or so. This, I don't know if it's real turquoise. I think it is, but it may not be. I know I got it from Rio, and I know Rio sells both, simulated and not. Let me see if I can find what I had it in. Well, it says turquoise cab. It doesn't say that it's simulated. So, I don't know. So, yeah, if you've got an expensive stone, or just don't want to take the chance, which is the smarter thing, is to just not set it until you've patinaed it. That is probably the preferred method. But A lot of times I'm doing things kind of speedy because it takes time to show you guys all of this stuff. And it's not really a class, this is a demo. So it's kind of like you get the gist of what I'm doing. So that's that. And then you get your pin clutch. The pin clutches, they're also in a 50-piece bag, which would make sense. Yeah, Cynthia, you're probably right, because I don't think I paid an arm and a leg for these. Anyway, so you put your little pin clutch back on there. You just squeeze the little edges and put it on there, and you've got a pin. So it's pretty easy, you know, really. You just have to have, you know, the stuff to do it with. But you could probably knock a lot of these off in not a lot of time. So, okay, so that is soldering a tack pin on the on a little flower impression, cutout, pancake die, whatever. Okay, so any questions? What do you want me to bring on camera? The pin, the completed piece? So, okay, so that's it. That's pretty funny, Beth. Yeah, it's like a little taste of like when you go to Costco. You just get a little taste. You don't get the whole deal. You don't get the whole class. You get the demo. Is the plating done? It probably is. Thank you for that, because I was forgetting. But I did not clean this one at all. So it's asking a lot for good coverage on that. So let me take this off. Well, it's not great, but I think you can see that the silver part is covered pretty well. If you didn't plate it and then you put patina on it, when you clean off the patina, your silver is going to show. So you really need to do the plating. Sometimes, like I said, I did not clean the majority of this off. So it would be much better had I cleaned it off and just have that little tiny rim where the bezel cup attaches to the back plate. That's a whole lot easier to conceal with the plating than a big blob here and there. So if it was a really stubborn one and didn't want to plate very well, what I would do is give it a second dunk in the plating thing. I would start off with another cup of the hot pickle and some fresh steel wool and give it a second go with that. And that generally takes care of it. So, you know, it's a nice handy thing to do because as I've said before, and other people say, you know, there's no really good copper solder out there. And I don't know why they haven't come up with anything like that. They have copper solder, they call it copper solder, but it's still, when you solder it, it's silver. So I don't know how they're figuring that it's copper solder. So that's just something that you need to know. Can you use a silver cup on the copper? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. The copper takes a lot more heat than silver does. So you want to be careful that you don't annihilate your silver cup. So you have to keep that in mind and watch your heat control a lot. So yeah, you know, you can do that. Do it, Fran, and then show me. How's that? They lie. Yeah, they do, or I misunderstand, or maybe it's a little bit of both. Um, do you want to see how I stamped the plague doctor? Or is this good or what? I don't want to keep you guys. I have plenty of time. I've got all night, but I don't want to hold you guys up. You might have favorite TV shows to watch or whatever, or just want to put your feet up and relax. But I'll tell you this, with the plague doctor, I only used 3 stamps. And if you want to do things like this guy, you need a couple of key stamps. And this is a curved line, a thin curved line. And this is a thin, well, I'd say this is slightly thicker than the curved line, but that doesn't matter. This is just what I have. A thin line straight stamp and a little tiny dot maker. So, you know, I wanted to tell you about these little stamps, but I got these on Etsy, and Lori Vaden had told me about these a few years ago because I inquired from her where she got the designs on her stamps, because some of them were so tiny. So she said, oh, I found them on Etsy, and she gave me the link, and I found them and I bought them, and a friend of mine bought them too, and there were like 20 little stamps in there for like $10 or something. It was ridiculous. I'm sure they were from China, but they're just little tiny dudes, and they have little tiny lines. They have several different dots with like a recessed area. There's just a bunch of them, but they don't have them anymore. I tried to see if I could get you guys, where I got them, where you could buy them, but there were a whole bunch of them, and I'm sorry, but Jennifer, you have these? Yeah, I mean, they're just little tiny stamps. Some of them have, there's like this itty bitty tiny little leaf on there, little straight lines, little curved lines, and they're really nice when you're doing faces or creases or whatever. So, keep your eyes out. Maybe you can find them some other way, maybe do a Google search or something, but they were very inexpensive, and I don't use them a lot, so the quality of them really didn't matter a whole lot to me. So, that's what I use for some things, but that's what I used on this guy's beak. Oh, and I put the one I'm going to use back in the pile. Oh, here we go. This is just really tiny. There's little nail sets that you can use too that are good for making little holes. You can also use a skinny or a thin screwdriver to make little lines. You can improvise on some things. Some things you can't improvise on, but some things you can. But anyway, I'm sorry that I can't give you a resource for these guys because they're pretty cool. But if you don't have stamps and you want to do stuff like this, a curved line stamp is a really good thing to have. This is also good, like you can use as a stem if you want to do flowers. If you're going to do like a flower, and you can put petals on either side of the stem. You could do it straight or curved, but it really looks cute when you have the curved in there. So I used that for his hat and for his beak. I used the curve stamp for most of it, and then this little tiny dot stamp for the little dots on the side of his nose. So there's just the 3 stamps for this guy. So let's see. Yeah, the set had little tiny leaf and a little tiny flower, and then a bunch of straights, and mostly straights. either thicker or thinner. Not much on the curves. I wish they would have had more in the curves. But hey, you know, I'm happy I was able to get it. So here's the guy. And I don't know how well you'll be able to see this either. I've got my bench block. I've got my rubber block underneath that. And what I do is draw on the blank first of what I want this guy to look like. So, and then I usually do it different. So there you go. All right, so I'm gonna give his hat a little bit of, give him a little hat band. And then I want the, I'll hold it up when I'm done drawing because I'm pretty sure you can't see this. And then it's pretty simple. That glare. Can you see that okay? So I just drew on there where I want to hit it with the stamps. And, you know, like I said, the curved line makes the thing on his neck. The two lines that are on his neck, they make the curve of his beak. They make the hat band curves turned up a little bit. Two lines of that. And then partially I place the stamp so that just the center of the curve gets in the center of his hat. So all right, so you get the idea, right? All right, so, and then I just drew on his eye, but I'm going to put a cabochon, a 4mm cabochon on there. So for this, I am going to take a regular, well, I have a brass hammer, but you could use a standard hammer. And I've got him on my bench block. Got all my stuff there. I'm going to start with the curved stamp and put that in the center. Now these wide stamps, you know, you kind of have to kind of walk it a little bit so that you get the whole area. Yeah, that's not on the line, but it'll be okay. All right. I'll show you after I get it done. I'll clean off the marker. Where's this guy? Oh, I only did one line there. Yeah, that's good, because that was looking like trouble. Okay. Okay, that. I'm going to do the straight line for the part of his hat that lays up against his head. Okay. And when your metal starts to bow a little bit, okay. I'm going to take my nylon hammer and just flatten them back down a little bit. You will have much better success with your stamping if your piece is always flat, because it has a tendency to curve up as you're hitting it. Okay, so now I'm going to do his beak. So I'm going to lay that stamp right along where I drew. Okay, got it. And now the little collar part. All right, and now the little dots for his, bring it on camera. I'm almost done, and then I'm going to clean them up. So then you'll be able to see the lines that I actually stamped. So now I'm going to do the little dots on his beak. And Jennifer, I think you're right. I think these are nails or something. I think that's what they made them out. But I would bet money that these are from China, because you would never get them that cheap if they were US made. I would totally buy them though if they were US made, if they were available. Okay, so let's see. So now I'm just cleaning off the Sharpie marker so that you can see the lines that I made with the stamps. You guys see that okay? That glare, I wish I could not get all the glare because you could see things a lot better. Hello, Suzanne. It must be the wee hours of the morning for you. Suzanne's in Australia, I believe. Okay, so that is, that's that. So I think what I'm going to do is have a drawing for this pin that I made. I don't know, pin or the plague doctor or one of the other ones. Oh, it's lunchtime now? Oh, okay. All right. Well, it's 9 o'clock in the evening here in my part of the world. I'm going to go get my jammies on in a few minutes and sit back and put my feet up and play on Facebook for a little while. Spot on 12 noon. Okay, cool. Okay, so I think what I'll do is auction off one of these pins for free shipping. And I haven't really thought about how to do this, but I'm going to wait for, let's see. I'm going to say this on camera. It is 9/23, September 23rd, 2020. I will let the thing go till tomorrow night. I'm not going to wait a long time. We'll just do tomorrow night. So whoever watches this video now and up until that point, let's say 9 o'clock tomorrow night, then I will put all your names in a hat or something, and I'll have my husband pick one, and I'll let you know, and then I will message you to get your address, and I will send it out to you. I don't think I can do it to out of the country. I think that unless the person who wins it would be game to help with the shipping. Okay, so I'll put that out there because, it's not really fair that people live in different parts of the world. It's just expensive, and it's expensive for those people, as well. So we'll try to make it fair, as fair as possible. Yeah. The mail's crazy. I bet, Suzanne. I bet. Yeah, it's pretty nuts. I just priced some stuff for Canada, which I am willing to send, and they were willing to help with the shipping difference. But it's terrible. It's just terrible. And Canada's like attached, but it is what it is. So anyway, I'll say one last plug for the class that I'm going to be having on October 31st and November 7th at 11 o'clock in the morning. They're 2 Saturdays back to back. We're going to take and make this necklace and all the components, the wire coils, the beaded components, all the different things, color the metal, You're going to make it all. So it's going to be 2 3-hour sessions. Everything's included, plus the shipping, domestic shipping. The class is 105. I think it's a good value for what it is. And I have I've got 6 or 7 people signed up, but I can still take some more. So if you're interested, there's information on the group page about it. You can message me anytime if you have any other questions. You will, it says on the post, what is included and what tools you need to have. But it's pretty minimal as far as what you need to have. Okay, so that's going to be it for tonight. I'm glad that you could join us or join me, and it's always fun. It's always fun to do these. I'm getting a lot more comfortable with them. This is what I needed after the kind of day that I had today. So go check on Dad now and see how he's doing, and I will see you guys on Facebook. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.